Продовжуємо спеціальне спільне
We shall
засідання.
continue the special joint meeting. Please invite to the room the candidate to the judge's position at the High Court, Batiuk Oleh Oleksiyovych.
Добрий день, сідайте, будь ласка.
Good afternoon. Please be seated.
Розглядається питання щодо відповідності кандидата.
We are considering the issue of compliance of the candidate to the judge's position of the High Court, Batiuk Oleh Oleksiyovych, according to the law of Ukraine. The members of the PCIE are present here. Names follow.
Габріеле Йоткайте Гранськіє недистанційно, Джон Джей О'Саліван і Джесіка Лот Томпсон. Також присутні члени Вищої кваліфкомісії суддів України.
HQCJ members are present. Names follow.
Тух, Олег Колюш, Ігор Кушнір доєднаються до нас.
Igor Kushner will join us shortly.
Роман Сабадаш, Руслан Сидорович, Сергій Чумак і Галина Шевчук. Зрозуміли вам склад комісії?
Is the composition of the commission clear to you? Yes, it is clear. Your rights. You have the right to make recusals, make motions, with the permission of the chair, make objections, appeal the commission's decision within the time frame stipulated by the law. No new materials are being considered in this session other than those that the candidate has provided within the stipulated time frame. As long as at least 3 members, HQCJ members, and at least 3 PCIE members agree, new materials can be included to the consideration if they significantly affect the candidate's profile. Is it clear to you? Yes, it is. Any motions and recusals? No recusals, no motions. And the rapporteur, over to the rapporteur. By the decision of the HQCJ as of June 3rd, 2025, competition to fill 23 vacancies for judges of the Hague and the appellate chamber of the Hague was announced. Batiuk Oleh Oleksiyovych, the candidate, submitted his application to participate in the competition according to point 3, part 2, article 7 of the law of Ukraine on the Hague Court in order to administer justice in the court. Batiuk Oleh was admitted to the second stage of the evaluation after getting 346.27 score as a score. Batiuk Oleh has a degree in law from Donetsk National University named after Vasil Stus and has an attorney license from 2001, no scientific title or PhD. From 2001 to 2007, he has worked as legal counselor. From 2010 to 2025, worked as a lawyer. Candidate has submitted the declaration on family ties, declaration, integrity declaration, and the declaration to the judge's position. On February 11, 2026, a statement from All Ukrainian Association Avtomaidan was submitted, related the candidate Batiuk Oleh. Also, a statement from Transparency International provided their statement regarding the candidate, and that requires the candidate to answer certain questions. Thank you. Over to the PCIe chair, Mr. Robert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our rapporteur in your case is Jessica. Jessica, please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mr. Oleksiyovych. Nice to speak with you. Thank you for coming in today. As you've heard, we're the PCIe sitting here before you. My name is Jessica Lott-Thompson. I'm a lawyer from Canada. You've heard the introduction for my colleagues. Also, Gabriel Duadkate is on video. Before we begin, do you have any questions or clarifications for me? I'll just remind
None.
you thank you. I'll just remind you to try and speak close into the microphone with a strong, clear voice for the translator, and also to try to keep your answers brief and clear, directly answering the question that has been asked. At the end of each section of questions, I'll give you a chance to provide more detailed information or lengthy answers if you wish. But for each question, try to keep it clear and brief. So first, I'll ask you some general questions and then discuss some financial issues. And then we'll continue on to some questions about your military service. But primarily, my questions will be financial in nature. So my first question, Mr. Oleksiyovych, is can you tell me about your interest in anti-corruption law and when you began to have the motivation to become a judge on the High Anti-Corruption Court?
Ну, мабуть, з того часу,
Well,
коли я
probably from the time
вже був в лавах ЗСУ,
when I joined the armed forces of Ukraine, I realized
для нашої
that
держави
at such difficult times for this country,
захист від
we need
зовнішнього
not only defend ourselves from the external threat, but also from the internal enemy named corruption that is really debunking our state. And based on my legal experience as an attorney, I decided to run for the judge's position at The Hague and participate in this competition.
Thank you. My understanding is you joined the military in approximately 2022.
Так, добровільно залишився на
Yes,
початку.
I did it voluntarily in early June 2022.
Thank you. You have reported in your written questions, just to clarify, we have already exchanged several rounds of written questions, and you've provided a lot of information. We've asked you lots of questions, but there are still some gaps. So during my questions, I will refer to your written submissions. Please feel free to repeat the information you've already provided for transparency and for the public who do not have access to your written questions. They only have access to this video. Sometimes I will ask you questions that you have already responded to in writing. So you have reported in your written answers 2 recent anti-corruption training certificates dated December 2025 and January 2026. Can you tell me if this is the first time that you have engaged in continuing legal education about anti-corruption law, or do you have some other training or knowledge of anti-corruption law prior to these workshops in December and January?
Ні, у мене був раніше досвід такий, я брав
I had some experience before.
різних
I took
тренінгах,
part
навчаннях.
in different trainings and courses, and I submitted the respective certificates.
Свої
I annexed them to my application, and they're available on the Judicial Career website. They date from 2016, and later on, I also had some certificates with respective dates. Also, the most recent are indeed trainings received by me in 2025-2026, but they serve as complement to what I received before.
Okay, I have reviewed the list of training courses that you have submitted, and it is unclear to me which ones of those would be related to anti-corruption. It appears that you took a training in 2016 that was related to corruption, but my understanding from looking at the titles of those training that they are, for example, there was a training in January of 2026 about the psychology of stress. There was a training in December 2025 about personal data protection related to the publication of judicial decisions. Another training in December 2025 about the European Court of Human Rights. These are very valid trainings for the work of a lawyer or a judge. However, it's unclear to me how they are directly related to anti-corruption. My understanding from reading the list is there are three courses you have taken, one in January of 2016, one in December of 2025, and one in January of 2026. And these are the ones that connect directly to anti-corruption. Is this correct, or is there some other training that I am missing?
Ні, все правильно.
That is correct. And just in front of me, I have a certificate from Prometheus at countering corruption certificate as of 2016. And then certificate 2026, corruption for everyone, explained for everyone. That was an online course, and if I'm not mistaken, it was also online though. Okay.
So for almost 9 years, you did not complete any continuing legal education? Because you've only disclosed to us some training from 2016 and then most recently from December 2025. Did you not complete any courses during this 9-year period?
So correspondingly, maybe I didn't mention it, but as an attorney, I constantly increased my qualification, took different courses according to the rules for fulfilling attorney's activities. Each year, I need to gain certain scoring, take some courses in order to update my qualification in such a way. So it means it doesn't correspond to the reality that during those 9 years I hadn't taken any courses. So as far as I know, there were quite a few. So there was quite a huge list of those activities, learning activities. I attached it to the questionnaire. These documents should be there. And also, almost for the last 4 years, when I have already joined the Armed Forces of Ukraine, because of certain reasons, I didn't have such an opportunity to take such learning activities.
Thank you. Yes, you've provided us information about only 6 different classes that you had taken. But I'm going to move on because we are very short on time. So I'd like to move on to the next question related to your declarations of income. So specifically, I'll ask you just about one representative year in 2019 so that we can focus on this year. So for 2019, you've already submitted written information, but there are still many significant gaps in your disclosure on this issue. So you, for 2019, have declared a total reported family income of approximately 33,000 hryvnia, which includes 24,000 hryvnia in social benefits, which were received by your wife, 4,700 hryvnia in fees and other payments under civil law contracts, and 5,000 hryvnia as income from independent professional activity. So for you personally, not your wife, the only personal income you declared for the year of 2019 was 5,000 hryvnia and 4,710 hryvnia. Can you explain where this money came from and what was it for?
Yes, of course, I will explain. So, 5,000 to hryvnia, and that's for independent attorneys' activities. Also, my wife received 24,000 of social benefits, and during 2019, we had also some savings at the amount of 150,000 hryvnia. So it means that correspondingly, during 2019, we some changes regarding our place of residence were there. So my mother sold an apartment in Mariupol, and afterwards, together with my wife, we looked for another apartment. And, she also provided some money, and the apartment was registered at my mother's name. So it means that it's under her ownership. So we looked for
apartments and real estate later. Can you please tell me, with just a very clear answer, what were you paid 5,000 hryvnia for in 2019 for that amount of money? What did you receive that money for? It was in your declaration.
Yeah, I've got your question. No, but for now, I can't tell you what were the specific, what's the specific case or something. So I carried out attorney's activities, but I don't remember the 2019, what was the specific case for which I received. I mean, I need a bit more time to give you a reply. I didn't expect such a question. Sorry.
We've asked you many questions in writing in advance. This is all repeating information we've already discussed in writing. So we have also asked you this specific question in writing, but you did not respond. So that's why I'm asking again now to give you an additional opportunity to clarify and provide transparency. So you still do not have any response to where the source for this 5,000 and also 4,710 hryvnia, which are your only personal income in your declaration for 2019. Your answer remains the same as it was in your written, that you have no explanation for other than that this is general professional activity.
Yes, yeah, I wasn't asked directly regarding the source of funds. I mean, specifically, who among of my clients paid this money to me, and that's why I didn't pay attention to that, and it was declared. But yeah, indeed, I don't remember it. So who paid it to me?
Confirm for you directly in our written questions when we did ask you this specific question. What is the source of that income? I can provide you the reference to the page, but I think that for now, let's move on. Can you tell me whether you properly declared this income to the tax authorities? This 5,000 plus 4,700 hryvnia in 2019?
Yeah, of course. And even now, I'm looking at your questions regarding these issues. It's 2019. Yeah, indeed, the 24,000 hryvnia were declared as received by my wife as social benefit, 4,700 as the honorarium were declared, and other payments received under civil legal contracts. And 5,000 were received as an income from attorneys' professional activities. Yeah, I declared it, of course.
So typically, you work as an attorney. You work as as an attorney, and this is your main employment?
Ну, не завжди. Я
Not always. Since 2015, when I participated in the open competition of the director of the Mariupol.
Only about 2019. In the year 2019, did you work as an attorney? Full-time or part-time?
Так. Так, так.
Yes,
And did you
yes.
support your family with your work as an attorney? Like your source of funds to support your family?
Ну, звісно, так, в тому
Yes, of
числі.
course, including this, but I also had some fair savings. And I was also relying on such savings in situations when, dire times come. And if dire times or situations come, I have some savings which I can rely upon.
Sure. And for now, we're just talking about 2019. So, did you carry out legal activity as an attorney? Just to confirm, in 2019, you were carrying out legal activity, but you did not report any income from legal activity.
Ну, але ж, може,
Yeah,
я щось не
but
розумію.
maybe I've got it wrong. But in my declaration, it says 4,700 hryvnia, which was received as a honorarium according under civil law contracts, and 5,000 hryvnia received from professional activities.
You supported your family with 4,700 hryvnia as that is your income for the year of 2019. I'm sorry, perhaps I am a foreigner. I don't understand the currency values in Ukraine, but can you please explain to me how your monthly expenses could be paid for the full year on 4,700 hryvnia for 2019? I understand you have 2 children.
Так, все вірно.
Yeah, I have 2 children. Yes, yeah. And I have provided replies. That's clause 5.1 in your questions regarding our monthly expenses of our family back in 2019. And I indicated that during that year, we were limiting ourselves with daily routine expenses at the total amount of roughly 12,000 hryvnia per month. That's about housing, food, and studies of children. So our family was limited with 143,000 of hryvnia during all total expenditures of the 2019, which consisted of 100,000 hryvnia that were used as of our savings out of 250,000 hryvnia that we had at the end of the previous year, as I reported in my declaration. And among also the mentioned 24,000 hryvnia, 5,000 hryvnia, and 4,700 hryvnia. And I also received an income at the amount of 10,200 hryvnia from subletting of land plot, which is located in the Kherson region.
As an attorney, you are an attorney with many years of experience. What do you typically charge to a client for a typical case? What is the sort of range of fees that you would normally charge to a client for a typical criminal case, for example?
Ви знаєте, я навіть
know,
в системі безоплатної правової
So when I worked in the free legal aid system, I even carried out some cases which were pro bono. So I mean, clients didn't pay for them. Sometimes cases were just limited with provision of consultations, and that's all. So there was no other work on the case apart of provision of consultations. Sometimes I worked just on drafting certain procedural documents, such as motions, claims, and so on. So I cannot, define specific fees like hourly fee or so on.
Typically will be legal aid. How many cases per year do you do for legal aid? What's the percentage? Typically, this could be maybe 10% of your cases, or some small amount of your cases would be legal aid because you need to work and you need to support your family. So what is the proportion of your total number of cases that is typically legal aid?
Ну, мені наразі складно
I
визначити
know it's
саме,
quite hard for me to define it right now, which was the
з
proportion,
моєї професійної
I
діяльності,
mean, out of my professional activities, which was the percentage of
джерела доходів.
of cases which contributed to the family income. Each year was different. Again, from 2015 to 2018, I had been a director.
I'm still asking only about 2019. It's very
Я
clear.
розумію,
Yeah, I understand you. So,
2019
2019, it was related not only to my activities, but also a lot of time, of us, of me and my wife, was dedicated to relocation from Kyiv to Mariupol. Ні.
Please let me know, is it less than half of your cases or more than half are legal aid?
Це менше половини. В
Less
19
than half. In 2019, it was definitely less than half.
2019, less than half of your cases are legal aid. We have identified approximately 30 court cases that you are registered on and that you acted as a legal representative in 2019. So you've established that less than half of those could possibly be legal aid or pro bono. How did you do 15 cases and only declare income of 4,700? Перекладач не працює?
Оголошується технічна перерва. Після технічної перерви.
After the technical break, we continue our session. Madam Jessica, over to you.
Thank you, dear Oleksiyovych. So I'll continue. So we've established that in 2019, less than half of your cases would have been legal aid. And so we have a record in the online registry that there were 30 cases that year where you were registered as an attorney. So did you receive any payment for those other cases that were not legal aid or some pro bono? So can you tell me, did you report the income from those remaining 15 cases?
Я повідомляв той дохід, який я отримував саме.
Informed of the incomes that I received back in 2019. Well, those cases, I just don't have this list in front of me of those cases. And so maybe they had started at another different period of time when I received some kind of advance payment for my services. But in order to give you detailed replies, I need, of course, it would be desirable for me to look at those cases because, again, I'm repeating that they could have lasted for certain periods of time, and even if they are registered in 2019 in the register, they could have been initiated back in 2016, 17, and so on.
Sure. And we have requested that information from you for all of these years. And I've just selected 2019 because it is able to be a contained period of time. I propose to you that if you declared only 4,710 hryvnia in fees and other payments under civil law contracts for that year, that if you had 15 cases, you would have charged each client an average of approximately 314 hryvnia per case, which I propose to you is a ridiculously low sum for the services of a lawyer. It could not be possible that you could have declared all of the income from those cases.
Я вибачаюсь, у мене,
I'm
якщо я
sorry.
пам'ятаю,
If I'm not mistaken, in 2019, I didn't have any criminal cases at all.
Це ж
I'm sorry,
I-
criminal or other types of cases.
ну,
Any types of cases, civil cases or other types of cases. I'm sorry for the.
Я зрозумів.
Yeah, I've got your point right now. I replied that not all those cases were or could be taken by me in order to provide like case management or to provide support during the case within that year. So I declared only money which I received specifically during that year. Earlier, I could have received some payments in 2017, 18, 16, if it was some payments received in advance. So maybe it's too early to answer. Maybe you're going to ask me this question later, but I can answer like this right now. So the average amount of 300.
Move on to some other issues. You've told us in your written answers that from time to time you sometimes worked as a lawyer without formal employment arrangements, like a contract or other documentation. I'd like to ask you to explain your written answer about this issue. How often did you work without formal employment arrangements? What years did you work without formal employment arrangements? And what proportion of your work? I'd please ask you to limit your answer to a maximum of 1 to 2 minutes. Please be very brief and explain how often you worked on without formal employment arrangements. You've already been asked this question, I believe, in writing as well.
Так, я отримав це питання, відповідав на нього.
Yes, indeed, I received this question in writing, and I will repeat my reply again for the public. So I meant the following, that sometimes when I indicated my questionnaire that sometimes I carried out because I carried out my activities without official employment or official labor relations. So I meant the following, that sometimes I provided consultations which were always on the demand of clients, and as a gratitude from clients, they almost always provided payments for me. And if this payment was from 200 to 500 for one consultation, it was not a systematic approach, it was just only several times, but I thought it as my work. So for this money, this wasn't done systematically. It wasn't that much at all. It was literally just several times. So I didn't declare it, such payments in such small amounts of money. So correspondingly, yeah, it was like this, but I didn't receive any payments in envelope any single time, or I didn't work without official drafting of labor documents and employment documents. No, I meant such gratitudes from the side of clients for my consultations. And sometimes it was pro bono, but sometimes they insisted, yeah, there were such cases to pay me.
These are very generous clients you have. You mentioned that for the explanation for your declaration in 2019, that perhaps you received some money paid in advance, perhaps in the year 2018. Is this, are you, or perhaps you received it in another year? Can you tell me, did you, from your declarations, you did not declare any income from legal activities in 2016, 2017, or 2018? So it seems difficult for me to understand how you could have received payments in advance for work that you completed in 2019 if you did not declare any income from legal activity in the 3 years prior.
Unfortunately, I don't have my declarations in front of me for previous years, 16, 17, and 18, but I have the list of the monetary funds that I received as salary and separately, which I received as an attorney who carried out independent professional activities. So I have this list, but unfortunately, in front of me, I don't have my declarations for the previous years. That's why I cannot confirm with specific amounts.
Sure, you know what, we have
No.
a few more minutes left. I'll ask the Secretariat to print that for you and show it to you so that we can deal with that as our final question. I'm going to move on to the next question. I'd like to talk to you about unemployment benefits that were received in 2018. I have some questions about the court decision of the Oblonsky District Court of Kyiv from March 2021 that involves you as a party. This decision was about a claim at the Mariupol City Employment Center, and the court ordered you to return unjustifiably received employment benefits, as well as the cost of social services. The court in that decision established that when you applied for unemployment status in July of 2018, you did not disclose that you held a valid indefinite certificate of entitlement to practice law, which later became known to the Employment Center. Additionally, we have identified approximately 30 court cases in 2018, where you acted as a representative during the year that you also made a claim of being unemployed. Can you please explain how you applied for employment benefits in this circumstances? And what did you learn from the decision of the Oblonsky District Court in 2021?
Так, я надавав відповідне пояснення.
Yeah, I provided my explanations to that, and briefly, in July 2018, I dismissed from the director of the Center for Secondary Legal Assistance. Throughout my activities at this position, I earned a salary. That center belongs to the Ministry of Justice, and I made my contributions to the employment center. And I believe that I could rely on the state in case of my unemployment that happened in July 2018. Therefore, I approached the Center of Employment and I applied for the status of unemployed because I lost the job, had lost that job. But I did not know that the contributions, that is the benefit that was paid to me by the center, I did not know that they were made in error. And later I provided the numbers. The center approached the court, turned to court, Zhivnevy court in Mariupol first, and then the case was transferred to Obolon court, and that case did not play out in my favor. And I explained in full why I disagreed with the decision. And I made my contribution from my salary to the employment center. Therefore, I can expect social benefit in case of unemployment. I also explained to the Center of Employment that it was their job to check my profile. They could have checked the register of attorneys. It is open back then, was open back then, is open now. And after the Mariupol Employment Center issued their decision on cancellation of my benefit, in 2 weeks, in December 2018, they paid me my benefit of more than 5,000 hryvnias, even though I wasn't entitled to it. So they still made that payment.
Yes. I'm going to move on to another issue. I'd like to talk to you about your mother's apartment purchase in Kyiv. So, and this generally relates to your mother's financial capacity. So in 2017, your mother purchased an apartment in Mariupol for 85,000 hryvnia, where you lived for approximately 1.5 years. Your mother has been a pensioner since 2003. What was her source of income for purchasing that apartment?
Так, я надавав відповідні пояснення.
I explained that in writing.
Я не пам'ятаю зараз.
I don't remember the number exactly which year it was
I'm
that
interested
apartment
in
was bought
year
in Mariupol.
2017, when she first purchased the apartment in Mariupol, where did she get the $85,000, the 85,000 hryvnia that she bought it with? Just that narrow question. If you could tell me the source of that. She was a pensioner. Was it from her savings? Was she employed? She was a pensioner for approximately 14 years prior to that purchase. While you're looking for that information, I'm going to proceed because we're short on time. In 2019, your mother's...
Так, ні, я вже знайшов.
I have already looked it up. Yes, in fact, in 2013, my father died, and he left his will in the name of my son, and some cash, funds in cash were left in my mother and father's family. Part of that cash that he left personally to his wife, my mother, and for me and for my sister. In 2013, we decided at a family gathering that my mother would sell the assets, we can call them like that, the assets that had belonged to them, had belonged to her and my father, but after his death in 2013, she sold 2 land plots and buildings located in the Garden Association, Машинобудівельник, in the suburbs of Donetsk. She also sold 2 cars, a motor roller, and equipment that had belonged to my father. And after his death, she didn't need them anymore. And this is how she accumulated money after his death, the cash and the things that I mentioned.
Okay. Thank you. We have already asked you this question in writing, and we've asked you to provide supporting documentation about any of these things, such as the will, the land plots that were sold, the cars, any of the tax records relating to your mother, and you have not provided any supporting documentation about this answer. So I'll just state that. Moving on, the next part of the question, in 2019, your mother sold that 2 years later. Your mother sold that apartment for 181,000 hryvnia. And shortly thereafter, she purchased an apartment in Kyiv for approximately 1,185,000 hryvnia. So how did your mother, first of all, sell the apartment for more than double? How did the value of the apartment in Mariupol more than double in value in 2 years between 2017 and 2019? And also, after selling the apartment in Mariupol, your mother still would have needed an additional 1 million hryvnia in order to purchase the apartment in Kyiv. So where did she obtain these funds? Please let me know.
Так, я можу пояснити.
Yes, I can explain that. Look, when my mother bought the apartment, we rented an apartment in Mariupol with my wife and sons. And I asked my mom if she could, while there were cheap apartments in Mariupol, I could pay utilities and we could live there free of charge. So if she could buy one and let us live there. And because Mariupol was a city close to the front line, And after 2014, it was liberated. After.
I don't need so many details about Mariupol. Please provide me information about the source of funds. If you can provide me the information about the source of funds, is it from a bank account?
Добре,
Is it
я
from
просто нема.
cash? Is it from gold? Is it from some investment? Is it from employment? Where did your mother get these funds? Because she is a pensioner since 2003.
Я зрозумів, я намагаюсь пояснити.
That is clear. I'm trying to explain. So after that apartment was bought, it was bought with a different money, not the one stated in the purchase and sale contract, and the apartment was sold with a different amount because furniture and equipment was in the apartment. That was what increased the price compared to the price for which the apartment had been bought. And I got 182,000 stated in the purchase and sale contract to sell the apartment. And my mom gave me the keys to the apartment, and the customer was living there for a week or so in that apartment, and the customer gave my mother $20,000. In fact, that was done like this, and I was absent during that transaction, and I only got 182,000 hryvnias stated in the purchase and sale contract. And when we sold the apartment in Mariupol, I said to my mother whether this money will be enough, as well as the money that she got after selling the equipment, materials, investments, my father, whether this money will be enough to buy an apartment in Mariupol. So she, as the owner of that apartment, could decide on that. And I said that there are very good options in Kyiv, and those apartments in Kyiv cost twice as expensive. There was a moderately acute financial crisis back then, and this is how we bought an apartment in Mariupol for a cheap, low price. Then we sold it for a higher price, and then we accumulated money to buy an apartment in Kyiv.
Business decisions, the source of income. This is the last time I'm going to ask you. I will give you 1 minute to answer, and then I'm moving on to another question. The source of income of where did the 1 million hryvnia come from? How did your mother? Also, perhaps you could answer me, when you visit your mother, where does she live?
Я відповім. Враховують, як я
So I will
написав.
answer based on what I stated in my explanations.
В тому числі квартири в Маріуполі,
So
автомобілі, речей та
all the amount of this from the sale of cars, apartments, money that was left after my father's death. She had a sufficient sum in 2019 to buy an apartment in Kyiv,
However,
1 million.
many times to provide supporting documentation of those assets, these house, the sales of land plots and cars. We've already discussed that you've not provided any supporting documents about any of that source of income.
I did not provide them because all the documents, when we sold the apartment, were all the documents stayed in Donetsk. And the sale of 2 buildings in the land plots there is a gardener's book, and after an application from a garden association member, where I say that I wish to exit the garden association, and then the purchase and sale contract is done like this, without the notary's participation. And this is how this ownership gets re-registered to a different owner.
Can I remind
No
you
notary in
elsewhere in your materials, you have already in your answers to us, you've already told us that all of your father's property was inherited by your son, which was approximately $6,200, and that in his will, his property went to his son. So I'm without any supporting documentation, it is very difficult to proceed further on this question related to your mother. So we're going to need to move on to the next issue.
Я вибачаюсь,
I apologize, but I did provide some documents. There was no will. There was a whole folder of documents that are at PCIe disposal regarding my using bank accounts to withdraw the mentioned sum of money. But the notary took the will from me, and I don't have its text. But there are documents that state, and I don't remember exactly how old his son was, my father's son was. But there is a wording that that son is the direct heir of my father. So at a family gathering, we decided that my father's belongings will be in possession, will stay in his son's possession, and the cash will stay with my mother. And I thought that was a good idea. This is what we decided at a family gathering.
Okay.
Oleh Oleksiyovych, as you are asked questions, please do not interrupt, even if you disagree. Listen until the end and then provide your answer. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to give you an opportunity to address all of the remaining issues. I'm trying to move this forward as fast as possible to give you an opportunity to answer. It's in your best interests to not interrupt and to allow me to ask the additional questions. So where does your mother live? Please answer me with the name of a city and no further information.
Я зрозумів.
I don't require an
Okay, I got
address.
it.
На цей час мені. Я зрозумів. На цей
I got
час
it.
мені
Currently,
100% невідомо, вона
I
виїхала
don't
ще
know
тому
100%. I'm not 100% sure whether she
через польський кордон.
crossed the
Але
Polish
я
border,
маю припущення, що вона зараз
but I
повернулася до
assume
міста Донецька
that
і
she returned
мешкає там.
to Donetsk and she lives
У
there.
мене таке припущення. У мене немає
I
доказів.
assume.
Останні 4 роки
I don't have proof.
ми не
And for
спілкуємося.
4 years, we haven't maintained communication.
Purchases to all these apartments in her name. The apartment in Mariupol that was purchased by your mother, actually, you and your family were living in that apartment, not your mother. And then the apartment in Kyiv, also, your mother is not actually living there. You are living there with your 2 children and your partner and your spouse. Can you explain to me how your mother is able to financially afford these while I believe she is a pensioner and traveling across the border and in difficult circumstances?
На моє прохання, ми в
At my request,
2017 році
in
сплачували
2017,
мені
we
тоді
had
в Маріуполі це
the
було,
lease
ну,
for
доволі
the
важкувато
apartment.
витримувати
In
ці
Mariupol,
видатки.
it was hard for
Я
me
попросив, якщо
to
у мами буде
incur these
фінансова
expenses.
можливість, чи
And
не,
so I asked my
хотіла б
mom
вона
if she
придбати квартиру в
could
місті
afford it.
Маріуполь, де я
I
міг
asked her
би
whether she
мешкати.
could buy an apartment in Mariupol where I could live, and it could be a good investment on her part. And she was the one who took the decision. She had the appropriate savings after my father's death. And after Mariupol, again at my request, I asked my mom to help my wife and my children to move to Kyiv, to start over. And if she could help us, given the price at which the apartment in Mariupol could be sold, she might be able to buy an apartment in Kyiv, and she agreed. She accepted this proposal, and that is why everything was registered in her name, because this is her owner.
To ask you about. Thank you for your answer with regards to that. This is regarding failure to declare income from the lease of a land plot in your declarations between 2016 and 2019, and I can provide you with paper copies of those now if you would like to refer to them. Thank you, and thank you to the Secretariat for obtaining those. You have declared a leased land plot in Kherson Oblast for those years. At the same time, your declarations contain no mention of any income received from the use of that land plot in Kherson. However, according to the tax records, you've received SVP Gromivsky the following income. In 2016, you received approximately 3,400 hryvnia. In 2017, just over 6,000 hryvnia. In 2018, 10,206 hryvnia. In 2019, the exact same amount. And why, I just simply would ask you why you did not declare this income in your annual declarations as it was reported by the tax records, but not in your declarations. And you have your declarations now, you can refer to them.
Я пам'ятаю, що
I remember that in one or two declarations, this income was declared, but afterwards, when I received information from the PCAE, indeed, I realized there were certain transactions, and approximately like up to 10,000 hryvnia per year. Once or twice, indeed, I missed it, and I failed to declare it at that specific moment. I don't remember during which years I declared it. And after 2022, I didn't receive any payments at all, because this land plot is located in the Yenichevsk district, Kherson region, so correspondingly it's under occupation till now. So maybe it was my mistake that I didn't take into consideration that money, but that money was roughly 10,000 hryvnia, 11,000 hryvnia per year. So something like this,
Okay,
indeed.
It's a mistake. Thank you for mentioning that. Just as a final issue, I would like you to imagine for a moment if you were to be appointed as a judge of the High Anti-Corruption Court and to put yourself into a judicial mindset. How do you believe that the High Anti-Corruption Court should consider issues related to errors in declarations and a failure to disclose or provide transparency?
We've lost the sound. We can't hear you. After the technical break, the session continues. Madam Jessica, over to you.
Thank you. I'll withdraw my question. I believe I've gone quite a bit over time. And I'll turn this over to our chairperson and to our colleagues with the High Qualification Commission of Justice.
Any questions on this side? Jessica Gabrielle? Gabrielle? No, I don't see Mary. She's not here. No. No, thank you. Back to you.
Дякую. Слово тоді
Thank
передається Волковій.
Then the floor is given to Людмила Миколаївна Волкова. Mr. Oleg, we will have a few questions related to information that was provided to us by the CSOs. So you have received already those documents, you have provided explanations, but there are a few issues that shall be covered publicly. So first of all, the issue that is raised by the CSO is related to how you declared in your declaration for 2016 maintenance for your minor son at the amount of the savings of your minor son at the amount of $6,000. So how did your minor son manage to accumulate such savings, which you declared in declaration? Thank you. I have provided relevant explanations to the HQCJ, PCIe, Aftomaidan, CSO, and Transparency International. So my son, back in 2013, received inheritance from my deceased father, and for him, after his death, my father left everything for my son. So that was an apartment in Donetsk, which was registered on the name of my son only, my older son, only later in 2024. So I provided copies of the from the register and so on. So this amount, what this amount consists of? This amount was on several bank accounts. It was both in hryvnia and USD, and it was on the bank accounts of my deceased father. And after receiving the receipt and the certificate of inheritance, I calculated it as a total amount of $6,000, and I declared all the time as money of my son. Okay, then tell me, please, regarding the loan or the credit which was taken by your wife from apparently your sister. No, your sister. No. So that's my sister, but it was not from loan from my sister. No. It was the State Fund of Youth Construction, and my sister was a salesperson, and it was like a person who provided securities. And it was back in 2013. The developer received that money from through the loan agreement from the fund of the youth construction, but because of all the things that happened in the city of Donetsk in 2014. This house, this multi-apartment building, was not constructed at full. So our apartment was located in that multi-apartment building. And I declared those obligations. I think it was 324,000 hryvnia. So I declared those obligations in my declaration. And it was a debt from the side of my wife. De facto, it was our family debt in front of the State Fund of Youth Construction, which back in 2025 and this year, just, on 10th of February this year, this fund provided us with additional agreements regarding an opportunity to suspend repayments of this debt for construction of this apartment. It means that this money, which we took as a debt from the state fund, just is suspended for repayment, and we have an opportunity not to repay it till June this year. So it's not required from us because we have not received the ownership right. So that's why the situation is like this. Okay, thank you. Tell me please about renting of land plot in the Henichevsk district. Please explain, how do you use How do you use this land plot since 2016 to 2024? You had rented it. So as far as I understand, you have been renting it back in 2022-23. How do you pay for its rent and so on? So as far as I understand, it's under occupation. Yes, it's under occupation right now. But back in 22-23, so you kept renting it out. So I have the renting agreement for 49 years. I don't remember when it was concluded. This is a land plot for commercial agricultural usage purpose. So I concluded renting agreement to rent it for 49 years. Factually, I didn't carry out any entrepreneurial activities there. What was the purpose for you to take it under rent? So the situation was the following. My acquaintance, whom I provided some support in the criminal case long time ago, he didn't have money, but he told me that he has a brother who plans to sell this land plot of agricultural usage purpose. But at that moment, selling of such land plots with such usage designation was banned. So, but he wanted to sell it. So the amount wasn't that high. He suggested to me to that he would this brother would agree to receive this amount of money from me, and he from his side would register everything in relevant cadasters and registers and provide me with the right to rent it for 49 years. So it's like I have bought it, but it's documented as renting of that land plot. So it was honorarium for your participation in the case? No. It was not a honorarium. He just put me in touch with his brother. And again, we lost the sound. We can't hear. We can't hear anything. So unfortunately, interpreters can't hear anything. After technical break, the broadcasting continues. So, factually, I was offered to buy this land plot for a small amount of money, and I agreed. But he said that, I get like something for it for approximately $2,000. That Mr. Sergei Velikov, he told me that I can document it as a renting agreement. Thank you, you explained it. You didn't plan to have any commercial activities, entrepreneurial activities there? No, I was thinking it's quite far away, what I'm going to do with that. But I thought that it would be quite appropriate for a small amounts of money, and then I subletted it. So it's in subletting, yes. And a person who takes it as a sublet from you, he's on that territory, yes. Who is paying to you subletting payments after occupation? No one pays, but you have an agreement. I have an agreement for renting it for 49 years, but the subletting agreement is still there. I signed 2 copies and I left it there. And afterwards, sorry. Look, so you started renting it since 2016 from Velikov Sergei for 49 years. So have you been paying to him renting payments during the whole period, starting 2016, or not? No, I paid to him it as a one-off payment in advance for all years. And you mentioned it in your agreement. Yes, of course, I mentioned it in agreement with him. And then you sublet it. Yes. As a person who sublets from you, does he pay any payments to you? Several times, yes. During which period of
Я
time?
зараз не можу сказати.
I can't tell right now. When did you conclude an agreement for sublets? Immediately? No, maybe next year. I don't have a subletting agreement with me. I signed 2 copies of that agreement. I provided it for the registration, where the registration took place. In the Kherson region, it was registration should have taken place where? The sort where which should have registered it. State Land Cadastre Office. So it was back in 2017. Maybe yes. And then what happened later from 2017 to 2022? Those documents kept stored there. They were not given to me, signed by both parties, by me and by them. But several times they made few payments. So how did they transfer money to the bank account? And when was the last payment done, if I'm not mistaken, in 2021? Have you declared such payments? Again, it was once or twice I declared it, and maybe once or twice more I made a mistake and I failed to declare it. When payment stopped? If I'm not mistaken, it was in 2021. So back in 2021, you stopped receiving payments from them. No, in 2021, I received payments, if I'm not mistaken, but after occupation, not. Okay, I've got your point. Thank you. The next question is related to the information that you have indicated in your candidates questionnaire. In particular, you indicate that before you didn't participate in any competitions for a position of a judge for the last 10 years. So the last competition was 10 years ago, but actually you are participating in the competition for a position of a judge of an appellate court and in the competition for local courts. No. For the appellate courts competition, I failed. I was not admitted, so I participated. So I filled in the application package, submitted it, filled in the questionnaire and submitted it. But I was not admitted to the participation in the competition because of the missing certificate on the Ukrainian language. But do you participate in the competition for the positions of local court judges? Yes, I participate. I've got your question. But you know, those mistakes, at that moment, I was already a service member of the armed forces of Ukraine. So there were certain difficulties to fill in and submit documents, maybe because of my personal lack of attention. I didn't take information which I provided before to the appellate court. I didn't take it out. So I provided that questionnaire with old mistakes. So this questionnaire is like a template which you use all the time. Yeah, it's a judicial career account. You can use this template, and maybe I just missed it and automatically submitted it. What's the difference between your motivation to participate in the competition for the Hague and your motivation for participation in the competition for courts of appeal? Because at your motivation letter, you didn't change even the name of the court to which you would like to become a judge. You mentioned for the Hague competition that you are participating in the competition for the appellate court. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. The text was the same. I made a mistake. Yeah, maybe it was because of the lack of attention from my side. When I was writing that questionnaire, you didn't write that questionnaire, you just copy-pasted it. Yeah, factually, yes. And yeah, maybe because of that. But yeah, there were certain difficulties, specifically because of my service. Yeah, indeed, it's my mistake. And it's mentioned also the PCA questions and in the questions that I received from the CSOs and the HQCJ. Yeah, I admit it, I understand, I agree with that. So that was my mistake. Okay, regarding your integrity declarations that you filled in when you submitted an application package for the participation in the competition, you mentioned you were never brought to legal liability, but it's not true. So why did you put that mark in that declaration? I provided relevant explanations. It was about the following, that there are several times there were protocols issued because of exceeding speeds by twice, once by 20 kilometers per hour, second time by 50 kilometers per hour. how it was done by our family car. But till that moment, I'm only the legal owner of that vehicle, but I have not been driving it almost. So I received those protocols in Dia, but I didn't even know it. That my wife lived in Kyiv with children, so she used that vehicle. And sometimes she visited her parents. There are also IDPs from the Shakhtarsk settlement, which is temporarily occupied. So she was driving that vehicle. So did you pay those fines? No, no, my wife only paid. And did you
органу для того, щоб змінити особу, яка вчинила правопорушення?
Ну, я би, можливо, так би і зробив би на той час,
Well, I
коли
may
вже
have
було
done so back then, when the fine was paid by my wife. I just didn't believe that those were my violations. How can we prove today that you didn't use it?
Ну, підтвердити чи спростувати.
Крім постанови,
Well,
у нас же нічого нема.
we don't have anything else apart from the order. I didn't see those orders myself. They are generated automatically.
Я ж, от
You
останнім
know,
часом, так, я можу здійснювати
recently,
ноутбук,
yes, I
як
can
командира справової роботи, так, та
make
здійснювати
such
заходи. Але на той час,
claims because I have a laptop.
повірте мені,
But in
взагалі
2022,
було
2023,
недоопрацьовано, ні
believe
до
me,
яких там штрафів
it
чи щось там воно мало
it wasn't about fines.
пояснила, я,
It-
ну, дійсно, я
Something else was in the air.
щоб, ну,
And
ну,
once we learned about the fines, we tried to pay them as soon as possible. Also, in that declaration, there are your indications that you had turned to the High Council of Justice when you were an attorney.
Тоді зрозумів саме,
So
чи маю я
it
це вказати
maybe
щодо
that
звернення
I
ВРП. Але
I
воно у мене було
misunderstood whether I had to indicate that or
на
not.
одного суддю з
I
Бердянського районного суду Запорізької області
turned
за
to a
невиправдане
judge from
рішення протягом
Berdyansk
тривалого
court
строку.
from
Це
Zaporizhia
завадило
Oblast,
мені як представнику
and I
клієнта
complained
подати апеляцію. Я її подав, але у мене
about
було
his failure to consider a case within
обґрунтування судового рішення, на
the
яке
legally determined period. Did you read a statement in
я
the
читав,
integrity
і я
declaration?
вважав, що буде
Yes, I
корисно,
did, and
якщо
I
я все
believe
ж таки скажу,
that
що
it would
таке
be
скажу,
useful
можливо,
if I
в мене не було,
say that there
я
was
цього
such a
казав. Але я
appeal
не думав,
from
що
me to the
не
High
треба
Council of
було,
Justice.
ну, так, я вже тільки
Так воно
зрозумів.
стосувалося втручань.
Was it related to interference?
Так, я зрозумів втручання в правосуддя,
Yes,
але, ну,
it was
чомусь я вважав, що
about
буде
interference,
Тобто ви уважно читали
obstruction of justice. Did you read the statement
той час я
attentively?
вважав, що я
At that time, I
повинен
believed that
написати
I needed
про
to
моє
indicate
звернення,
that
саме звернення.
about the
Так,
fact
я помиляюсь,
that
що
I
чи звертались
turned to the
до-
High Council of
Я,
Justice,
ну,
because the
так, я
statement
вважав,
was, did you turn to
так,
the...
я розумію,
Yes, I
ви
did.
це
Yes,
зараз
I
розуміли,
turned to
але на
them.
той час, ну,
Now
я
I
вважав, що
understand
це
that,
правильно. Я зробив
but
цю
back then
заяву, я
I believed that
сказав, що я
I
зроблю це звернення.
acted
Ну, і відповідно
appropriately.
апеляція.
And this is why it is reflected in the declaration too. So in your integrity declaration, you say that you are unaware of your relatives' visits to the Russian Federation or the occupied area after 2015. According to the peacekeeper Mirotvorets website, your sister is likely to have entered the territory of Russian Federation. It's about your sister. And I have provided explanations to all the requests on the part of CSOs and PCIe members. I remember this question. What I explained corresponds to reality. For the last 1 year and a half, I was not in touch with my sister. I blocked her in all the messengers for a year and a half. Yes, I apologize, but the trip was in 2021. But before that, we would just exchange birthday greetings once per year, and that's it. because we had a family dispute, and I didn't really feel like seeing her or talking to her, and she did not inform me of her trips. And as I wrote in my explanation, I just learned from PCIe that he crossed the border in 2021, so you didn't know about it. I didn't. Okay, then your position as a assistant to a member of parliament, what are your duties as an
Так, я також надавав це
public assistant?
Yeah,
I provided explanations to the Автомайдан NGO about this, that is CSO.
Я був внутрішньо переміщеною особою.
I was an IDP,
Ставав відповідно про
and
діяльність з цих підстав,
I
в тому числі отримував
engaged in legal activities,
цієї діяльності. І мене познайомили з цією депутаткою.
and I met that MP. She was a part of Committee on Human Rights, the occupation and reintegration of the temporarily occupied territories. I told her of my experience in legal area and experience in defending rights of IDPs, and she suggested that I become her assistant, and it was done pro bono. On several occasions, I received some projects to my mailbox regarding IDPs' rights. I made some conclusions. The MP asked about my vision of a certain draft law, and it happened just 2 or 3 times, and it lasted within 2 to 3 months, and we met 2 or 3 times over that period. And in 2021, since 2021, we have not been in touch. Thank you for your answer. I am no longer her assistant, and I have provided a document, February 17, 2026. Just a week ago, I was excluded from the staff list of the Verkhovna Rada. Then regarding acquisition ownership in Donetsk, first it was a construction, independent construction, and then your wife and your son acquired the rights, ownership rights. How is that possible if that object is in the temporary occupied territory? That ownership right first emerged in 2024 for construction in Donetsk, for building in Donetsk. After, is it heritage? Yes, this is heritage, just one building, and the other has a different story. So one building was transferred to my son. Some documents stay in Donetsk, and I, as a representative of a minor, I approached the court in Donetsk Oblast to confirm my son's ownership right. And the court studied the originals of the will and hereditary documents. Then another building is in occupied Donetsk, Abakumova 148. It was a gift in 2009, and I didn't even know about it. I got married in 2008, and in 2009, my father-in-law gave my wife a gift, and that building. Was it unfinished construction? Well, no. It was not registered. So you first declare it as unfinished construction, and in 2024, you make it an object of ownership.
Якщо не
Yeah, I
помиляюсь,
got it.
декларації там вказано
So in the
або
declaration,
на праві користування згідно
it
цивільного
says
кодексу. І чомусь, можливо,
the ownership is based on the civil code.
вказав, що це не, ну,
I may have
Різні розділи декларації.
I may have mistaken something. These are different sections of the declaration.
об'єкти
There
нерухомого,
is real
але-
estate,
але які-
Завершено в
and there is another
це,
section,
ну,
інший розділ.
unfinished.
можливо, але ну там
Other
було,
section.
якщо не помиляюся, я вказував, що це
It is possible
об'єкт, який належить на праві до
that I
до цивільного
indicated
кодексу.
that
Саме так.
facility, that building is owned by my son according to the civil code. They all belong to individuals based on the civil code without registration. There is an extract from the registry, and this ownership is based on the civil law. Back then, the gift agreement
Він не міг дарувати
was owned by my father-in-law. He couldn't gift you an unfinished construction, could he? No, he couldn't. But I don't know why they're talking, why that fact appeared in that section in the declaration. I remember that I indicated that that object and the right to its ownership is based on the civil code. And simultaneously, my wife turned to Center of Administrative Services in Kyiv to handle this issue. And that construction is really dilapidated. That is unfinished.
Вона реєструвала.
What kind of document did she register? A gift agreement, of which year? 2009. But she, those documents were at my father-in-law's place. And I provided those explanations. I also made a notification to the register of the damaged property and an apartment in Donetsk.
Ми будемо вимушені потім вирізати частини.
So please do not state the address because we will need to cut it from the broadcast. So we exchanged it to that apartment. So I think you got familiar with information regarding you. There is operational intelligence that you were wanted because of the unauthorized leaving absence from military unit. So from HQCJ request, I learned about it. I didn't know about it, and I provided explanations to everyone who had asked me about it. And I will look it up now. In 2022, from September 30 to October 2nd, the
Ротним було подано доповідь, що декілька військовослужбовців там
the official submitted
було проведено службове
a report that about my alleged unauthorized absence, and the information about it was not confirmed. The alleged absence was not confirmed. I provided explanations. I wasn't on guard, on duty, and that information was not confirmed, but somehow it made it to the portal. And the last question regarding your claim about medical examination. We're not talking about we're not mentioning diagnosis. So please refrain from mentioning diagnosis. Why did you file that claim? So when I joined the army, I passed the medical examination and I was allowed to join the army, to serve in the army. We shall continue after a short technical break. Throughout, or that is in late 2022, I was in the military hospital. In 2023, as I passed medical commission, medical examination, there were some cardiovascular diseases, and I was recognized as partially compliant to serve in the army. And as I learned later,
це трактування, вона говорить про проходження служби строковою, розумієте? На яких зборах резервістів,
as I learned
не
later,
які
I could be in the reserve,
службу, і це було з позиції саме бойових. І відповідно я звернувся і
it should have been the initiative of the military officials. So I turned to the medical commission and submitted my medical certificates to show that my state of health correlates with the time I spent in the army, and that was a injury related to the defense of Ukraine. So I turned to the medical commission for them to review their conclusion. Thank you. No other questions. Colleagues, any other questions? Ruslan, then Halina, then Yaroslav. I've got very short question. Well, in part, this information has already been voiced, but in a different context. We're talking about the information that you stated in your questionnaire in the section about decisions that you are proud of. You indicated that you are proud of the fact that you appealed, you filed a claim with the High Council of Justice about the misconduct of a judge. We're not citing their name, and the judge was later dismissed by the decision of the High Council of Justice. I am confident that if it weren't for my claim, that dishonest judge would still stay in his position. I'm reviewing this decision from the High Council of Justice on dismissal of a judge, and there are no facts or circumstances referring to his dishonesty are stated in the decision. Do you really believe that you are proud of forcing another judge's dismissal under such circumstances? So I can explain. I represented a client in a court, and in that court a judge made a verdict which was unfavorable for my client. I was not able to appeal the decision. Right after it, I mean, your position is clear. You represented your client. At the same time, you're characterizing the judge as a dishonest judge. Are there legal grounds to call him dishonest? Any document to acknowledge that judge as a dishonest? and to justify your claim.
Думка, і я вважав, що суддя зробив, не виготовляв це рішення навмисно,
It
щоб
was my
я не
opinion,
зміг
and I thought that the judge specifically didn't issue and draft this document in order to prevent me from challenging it. And my submission of my claim was actually a trigger for a judge to submit his retirement application. And I think one day before my complaint, the HTJ actually told me that he's already approved for retirement, and that's why your complaint is not eligible for consideration. But I thought that, yes, I was right. Thank you. Thank you for your position, for your attorney's position. But at the same time, we have considered this statement only in the context of the competition which you are participating in, and such judicial opinions, and such opinions regarding other judges, which you are proud of, but which are not legally proven. And again, another question: if it happens that according to the results of this competition, you are appointed for the position of the Hague judge, and you find out about other actions committed by your fellow judge of the same court, which constitute violation of legislation. What will be your next steps? Everything depends on the nature of such actions, whether they are confirmed or not. You found out that the judge has received improper gift which leads to administrative criminal responsibility. We don't have criminal responsibility for receiving illegal or improper gifts. We have only criminal responsibility for improper benefits. So if this benefit was received in the format of a gift exceeding certain threshold of the amount of money, then I think that it could be that from my side, I would report this information to law enforcement authorities and to the HTJ. If I'm sure regarding this information, and if I know 100% that through such receipt of such valuable gift, through the allegedly process of improper benefits, then I would report it to the HTJ. What would be the purpose? So, from the authorities and HTJ, what was the purpose for you? What about the Chief Justice of the Court, your peer colleagues? Maybe you would initiate the meeting of judges of this court to discuss this issue. Maybe you have some doubts, and they could be solved on this level without applying such radical measures. No, I've got a point. So if I'm 100% sure and have solid evidences regarding receipt of improper benefits in the format of such valuable gifts, that I would have considered that these are manifestations of a criminal crime, and I would respond in a legal dimension then. If these are some gossips or my assumptions, then of course I would take certain measures like talks and conversations with this judge, or would receive advice from other colleagues and judges whether this fact indeed happened or not. But if I'm 100% sure and I have 100% evidence, then if I heard some gossip someone received or something like this, and I go immediately to its HTJ, Okay, thank you for your position. This position is not very clear, but thank you. I have one question to you, maybe two questions regarding your in the context of your previous answer to the previous question. Let's go back to your unemployment benefits. Tell me, please, very clear, what were you guided by when you submitted your application to receive unemployment benefits? I was guided by that I became unemployed. I paid relevant contributions. I considered myself as an insured person. Okay, we got your point. So it was your interpretation of legislation. Yes. Yeah, I've got you. Tell me. So if tell me, if you had any doubts regarding the application of provisions of this law regarding such unemployment benefits that you have received, have you reached out to get some clarifications from the employment center, whether you are eligible to receive such benefits? Why didn't you do it? I didn't reach out to the center because when they checked all my data, they issued an order, such an order document to recognize me as an employed person and paid me benefits for several months. So I thought that it was legal. So you said that it was legal and proper, but before that moment when you submitted that application, when you had those doubts whether you're eligible for such benefits, because it's so serious, this money received from the state budget. So you should have been very cautious, but you decided to do it in such a manner. Then tell me, if you are appointed for the position of the judge of the High Anti-Corruption Court, and if you're going to have any doubts regarding any matter, would you rely upon your own judgments, or would you open a book? Would you reach out to specialists, call to experts on? No, so it doesn't matter how much knowledge, skills, and practical experience I have, I can't know everything. Now, I would reach out to relevant explanations, whether this or that situation has any signs of legal actions. So that's only, of course, according to legislation. So in this case, you will be more thorough. Yes. Correspondent, yes. Unfortunately, all these questions that I'm responding right now, I didn't even think it could be an answer of a person who has no legal education, but you have legal education, and as of moment of receiving that support, those benefits, you had already so much of experience, and you were even the head of the free legal aid system. So you should have been aware of those legal issues, the same as you should know the category of cases and conclusions of the Supreme Court on such a matter, when benefits are subjected to return, if such benefits were assigned inappropriately or illegally. So I think that you should have known such conclusions of the Supreme Court. Otherwise, you would not have submitted for receiving of such benefits. Okay, next question. When you mentioned that you submit complaint because of the actions of a judge, because judge, to your opinion, failed to give you a decision in a timely manner, and it became an obstacle for you to submit a complaint, to your opinion. But it's not true. If you didn't receive the full text of the decision, you can reach out to the appellate court asking to prolongate this term for your right to challenge the decision, because you don't have the full text of the decision. And there are conclusions of the Supreme Court that's eligible and respectful reason for to prolongate the challenging period. So why you mislead the Commission? No, I didn't mean it. I said that I submitted an interim complaint of appeal with my presumptions why the court decided like this. No, it's not because I didn't receive the full text of the decision. No, the decision was not submitted into the register. So, yeah, I've got your point. I've got you. Yeah, sorry. Okay, please. No, I've got your point. Don't continue. So my question was related to only thing. What was your reply? So your reply before that to my colleague. And that's why I'm having this follow-up question. So now I understand. So I didn't have any opportunity to add anything to the complaint of appeal. There was no procedural opportunity as of that moment. Okay, let's leave this topic beside. Another question: do you think is it enough integrity from your side? And is it appropriate from your side to speak about any judgments and about actions of the side from the side of a judge in such open session for the whole public? So you think that this judge lacks some integrity from their side because this judge decided to retire one day before consideration of my complaint? No, I was not proud of it. I was proud of that this, my complaint became a trigger for his retirement application. Did he tell you in person this? It was my assumption, and maybe, so my guess, as you say, but at that moment, there were no other proceedings under his consideration. So he did it specifically at that moment when I submitted a complaint. So do you insist on it? I thought that I do right thing. Okay, thank you. Yaroslav Yurich. Mr. Oleg, hello. And I have a quick question to you. What is your attitude regarding issues envisaged in the provision of Article 7 in the law of Ukraine on bar activities? That's regarding what? That's regarding combination of attorneys' activities and service in the military. Yeah, I suspended my attorney's activity, but before that, it was a decision in March 2022 when the National Bar Association provided explanations that it would not become a conflict of interest. Would it be grounds for bringing to liability? Yeah, it would not be. But do you consider it as ethical to combine such things, such actions? At that moment, I considered that I need to do everything possible to defend my state, and if I needed to submit a suspension application of such activities, attorneys' activities, yeah, indeed, I failed to do it. At that moment, I did it a little bit later. So we are not in the closed part of the interview. We are in the open part. That's why please give very general explanation. So you provided information that de facto from 31st August 22 to the beginning of 23, you were involved into the combat tasks fulfillment. Please do not share details, but give general information. What were your tasks? So my commander sent me to trainings to become combat medic, but I didn't want to do it, so it wasn't my desire. I was the only one from all my regiment. I was there in the trenches at the 0 kilometer hostilities area. I provided support to all the injured and traumatized. Okay, so you were a combat medic in the register starting 1st August 22. There have been at least 146 rulings, decisions where you submitted applications, documents to participate in different cases. So did you manage to combine your activities on defense of the state with attorney's activities? Several times, indeed, I submitted some complaints, some applications, but I'm sorry. In order to clarify such issues, we shall move to the closed part. I'm putting into voting the issue to move to the closed part to discuss such issues. Who is for discussing the issue of moving to the closed part? Who is against discussing the issue of moving into the closed part? Do you have any objections? No. So we are moving into the closed part. The decision is made. Please suspend the broadcast.
Отже, продовжуємо
So we
засідання у
continue
відкритому режимі. Чи
the
будуть
open
ще
part
запитання
of the
до
session.
наших
Do we
колег?
have any other questions
У мене
from
буде
our
запитання,
colleagues?
але
I will have a question, Mr.
стосовно
Oleg.
того майна,
So
яке
regarding the
ставилося
property which
запитання
was
від громадської ради,
asked about by the
міжнародної
PCIe
експертизи
experts and
комісії
by the
стосовно
commission members
квартир, які
regarding the
купувалися в
apartments
Маріуполі, так, здається,
purchased
і
in Mariupol, yeah, if I'm not mistaken,
це
and in
ваша мати
Kyiv.
придбавала,
That
так?
was bought by your mother. Yes.
Проживали, проживаєте?
Did you live there? Do you live there? I keep living there. In Kyiv. In Kyiv, I keep living at that address. I declare it. I live there. I pay for utilities. And sometimes, when it's possible, we try also to do some repair work, something like this. Yeah, to maintain the appropriate condition of that apartment. Thank you. I have no other questions, and you have up to 1 minute to express any thoughts, to mention anything which you have not mentioned yet. Yes. I would like to express my words of respect and gratitude, first of all, to the honored members of the PCA for their help in carrying out indeed a truly transparent competition. That's to my opinion, and that's indeed it is. I'm so grateful to you, and I'm thankful to the HQCJ members and all employees of the HQCJ who participated in arranging, carrying out of this competition, and I hope that I have a chance to become a judge of the Hague if you will decide like that. Thank you. Thank you for participation in the competition. The interview is over. And thank you for participation in the interview. So thank you. Goodbye. And the whole agenda of the special joint meeting has been covered, and this session is announced to